What is going on, y'all? My name is John, and this is Facemask Fantasy, bringing you new fantasy content every day right here on this channel. So if you have not subscribed already, please hit that button. And before I get into it, I just got to let y'all know that we are rolling out live streams. We have a live stream every Sunday at 10 a.m. to go over start-sit questions pre-kickoff, and we have a stream every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. to go over everything that happened in last week's games and to go over waiver options before the waiver deadline early Wednesday morning. So tune in with us every Sunday and every Tuesday throughout the season, and hopefully we can help you win your fantasy leagues. But without further ado, let's get into some fantasy talk. And today we're talking Dontrell Hilliard, because Dontrell Hilliard rushed 12 times for 131 yards and a touchdown in the Titans' Week 12 loss to the Patriots, while also losing a fumble. Hilliard was targeted only twice, catching a 2-yard pass, which is wild because both me and Nick were expecting him to operate as the team's pass-catching back in this offense, as this past week's explosion was preceded by a Week 11 outing in which Hilliard rushed 7 times for 35 yards, adding 8 catches for 47 yards on 10 targets. Hilliard now has 19 carries for 166 yards since first seeing action off the practice squad last week, and he carries a yards per carry average of 8.73 into the Titans' bye. Yes, he committed a costly fumble, but the production is undeniable over the past 2 weeks. It has to be mentioned that backfield mate Donta Foreman also cleared 100 yards and lost a fumble as well in Week 12, and it looks like the Titans finally got their rushing attack back on track after losing Derrick Henry in Week 8. Now moving forward, we would expect a similar two-headed approach versus the Jaguars in Week 14 after the Titans bye in Week 13. Despite the borderline non-existent receiving performance for Hilliard last week, he should probably help out in that department moving forward, and we should expect his rushing ceiling to decrease, as there's basically no chance a practice squatter can continue to average more than 8 yards per carry moving forward. But again, his receiving work should increase from last week's totals, giving him an intriguing value moving forward into the final stretch of games before the fantasy playoffs. He looks like the best rusher and receiver left standing in this Titans backfield. But who is Dontrell Hilliard, and can we rely on him for the rest of the season? Dontrell Hilliard went undrafted out of Tulane in 2018. He showed athleticism at his pro day, running a 4.42 40-yard dash and exhibiting a 113.8 SPARQ score, firmly putting him in the 60th percentile at his position athletically. In his first 2 college campaigns at Tulane, Hilliard hauled in 53 passes, and in his last 2 seasons, the back caught just 17 passes, as the offense shifted away from tossing to the running backs. But in total, coming out of college, he had an impressive pass-catching back resume, and he consistently showed decisiveness and showed that he could gain edges with speed and vision, but preferred cutting between the tackles. Coming into the NFL, he had plenty of college experience. He was 23 years old when entering the NFL and is now 26. Upon being picked up by the Browns in 2018, he was slotted behind Nick Chubb, Carlos Hyde, and Duke Johnson, and he played in 11 games his rookie season, but didn't field 1 rush attempt. Instead, he caught 9 of 10 receptions for 105 scoreless yards as the backup to Duke Johnson. He basically redshirted, playing mostly on special teams in his rookie season. In 2019, his sophomore season, he played in 14 games behind Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and newcomer D'Ernest Johnson, earning 13 rush attempts for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns to go with 12 receptions on 15 targets for 92 scoreless yards in his sophomore season. He operated as the 3rd back in the rotation behind 2 of the most solid and productive starters in the NFL, and thus never really got the chance to shine in his 2nd NFL season. And to cap it off, he suffered a knee injury on December 24th of 2019, ending his season on Christmas Eve. He was re-signed the following year, but was cut on September 5th before the season started, and then was re-signed to the Browns practice squad. This after he cleared waivers, as no team made a claim on him throughout the waiver process. Despite the demotion, he was promoted to the active roster again a mere 25 days later to return kicks for the team, but it only lasted until mid-December, December 13th, 2020 to be exact, and 2 days later, on December 15th, he was signed by the Houston Texans in Week 15 of 2020 after David Johnson was put on the COVID list that week. And then, after playing in 2 games for the Texans but failing to record either a rush or a catch, he ended his season without much fanfare. He was signed again this past offseason, but failed to make the team by the roster cut date for the NFL season, and as a result, he was cut, and then he signed to the Titans practice squad. And it looked like he was destined to just ride it out on the Titans practice squad for the rest of his career, possibly. But when Derrick Henry went down with the Jones fracture in week 8, after Darrynton Evans was on IR to start the season and then put back on IR in week 7, after Jeremy McNichols was put on IR after week 10, and after Adrian Peterson was signed and cut all before week 11, it wasn't Dontrell Hilliard that was expected to take the role of the Titans RB1. It was D'Onta Foreman, but Dontrell Hilliard has come in and done his thing. He plays for the second heaviest rushing team in the NFL to date this season. He's averaging an insane 8.73 yards per carry in his 2 games this year, and I expect the 2 Titans running backs, that being Hilliard and Foreman, to split the workload going forward. But Hilliard is more widely available in fantasy leagues. He has more versatility. Again, Hilliard busted out to rush for 131 yards against the Patriots, pretty good defense, and tore off a highlight 68-yard TD run. Again, the week before, he had 10 targets and caught 8 of them. Tennessee should continue to rely a lot on its running backs because they are not only a part of the team's core offensive approach, but the team is also dealing with highly impactful injuries at wide receiver. Julio Jones hasn't been healthy seemingly all season, and AJ Brown is out for the next 2 games at least and could miss even more time. The Titans are moving forward right now with Golden Tate, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and Chester Rogers in the pass game, and that group isn't noteworthy to say the least, so Hilliard should be able to maintain his receiving floor that he exhibited in week 11 for the remainder of the season. That is at least until Jeremy McNichols comes back to muddy the waters, and he should be healthy week 14 after sustaining a concussion. So while Hilliard does come with some upside, you can't play him next week because he's on a bye, and upon returning, he could find himself in a crowded backfield. That said, I believe he is the most versatile of the group. He's put more explosive plays on tape over the last 2 weeks than either Foreman or McNichols have pretty much all season. He should maintain flex value moving forward, and if he by some chance gets the majority of the work moving forward, say McNichols suffers a setback or something like that, I think he'd have high-end RB3, low-end RB2 value in this offense, with honestly room for high-end RB2 weeks. But again, that's only if he gets the lion's share of the work in this offense, which is not something that we are predicting. Still, flex value for the fantasy playoff run is still valuable, so if you're in need of running back help and can stash Hilliard, it might be a good idea to do so. Because again, I expect Hilliard should continue to have flex promise in fantasy leagues for the rest of the season. But what do you think about the Titans backfield, and what do you think about Dontrell Hilliard specifically? Put your thoughts in the comment section below. My name is John, and this is Facemask Fantasy, bringing you new fantasy content every day right here on this channel, so if you have not subscribed already, please hit that button. Thank you for listening and have a great day.